Come join us each week as we dive into topics about the joys and the struggles of motherhood. By no means are we experts. We're practically flying by the seat of our pants, or should I say, mom jeans. On this podcast, you will find a judgment-free zone where we discuss not only the best parts of being a mom, but the not-so-glamorous parts too. You can expect unfiltered, real mom talk, humor, grace, and a sense of sisterhood. What makes our podcast unique is that we understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to being a mother. We're not going to pretend that we know everything too, because we definitely don't. We just want a place to share our stories with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood.
Welcome to Mom Jeans, the podcast. We are so excited to have you back. I want to wish all of our mother listeners a happy Mother's Day and hope you had a great day. At the end of our episode, we'll go through some items that people don't typically want for Mother's Day and some items that people do want for Mother's Day. Of course, Mother's Day has passed, so maybe you'll use these for the next year, or you were a little late on your gift giving, and that is something that you can do for your mom or for, anybody in your life that you consider a mom. So let's start with, it's a light crew today. It's just myself, Lisa, Danielle, and Leah, and we are going to start with our check-in. And then we will go through mommy burnout is our topic today. And we'll define that once we get to it and some ideas of what to do to go through that. And again, we'll wrap with our hot topic of Mother's Day. So anybody want to kick it off with their check-in of the week?
Sure. So something that is actually pretty near and dear to my heart this week that kind of came up in the infertility community. As you can see, I'm wearing my sweatshirt that says IVF Mama. I have two sweatshirts that say IVF Mama, and I have an IVF baby onesie that I got for Wesson when he was born from the same Etsy shop. And I've bought clothes for all of my friends who have gone through IVF as well, this IVF Mama sweatshirt. So really unbeknownst to a lot of people, and specifically the woman who makes these sweatshirts, her name is Crystal, and she has a shop called Rose Grace on Etsy. Earlier this week, the term IVF Mama was trademarked by somebody. And the impact of that is probably more far-reaching and more significant than we would really just think. So Crystal actually received a notification from Etsy that she was infringing upon a trademark based off of what she had been selling, these IVF Mama sweatshirts, because the term IVF Mama, which is so broad and has been used by so many people in the infertility community for years, is now trademarked. This sparked a lot of passion in people like myself, other people who have been supporting Crystal along her Etsy journey. She's got a great shop. She has the cutest stuff, also high quality, and she's a really nice individual. But it impacts so many. The fact that, one, I don't understand trademark laws. I don't understand how you can actually trademark a phrase that people have been using for a very long time. There's been a tremendous outpouring of support for her on Instagram, and everybody has just been rallying behind her in this regards. And so I just wanted to call it out. She is actively seeking some legal guidance in this capacity. So I don't know if anybody who is listening might know a trademark attorney or anybody in the legal sphere that might be able to help her navigate this, as it could potentially have a lasting and negative impact on her business. So, I mean, if you do search the term IVF Mama, a ton of Etsy stores come up, but Crystal specifically I've loved her stuff. She's been such a kind person, very interactive and engaging. And I just wanted to call attention to that. A lot of us have gone on and purchased some more clothes from her store just to show that small business support. Her Instagram is Shop Rose Grace, and then her Etsy is Rose Grace. And so, if you'd like to show support in other ways, if you don't know, an attorney or someone in the legal field, definitely purchasing things from her store, which there's such great stuff. It's so cute, such high quality. I wear this sweatshirt multiple times a week. I also have another IVF Mama shirt from her that I wear quite a bit as well. I wore it this weekend to our school picnic. So I just wanted to call that out because it's disappointing. It kind of stings like that somebody, and the woman who did trademark it, she's got an Etsy store now, and she explains how she is part of the infertility community, but really this has had probably more backlash on her than not, just because she trademarked something that means so much to so many people. So just wanted to kind of bring that up.
That's wild. Like, wild. I mean, more to me, my mind goes to like she's just trying to make more money and she wants to get rid of the competition. That's just wild. I'm sorry for that.
I'll be interested to kind of follow along and see how this progresses. Because, with backlash, a lot of times some good things can come out of it. Hopefully that's what happens here. And be interesting to see. So thank you for calling attention to that.
Yeah. So I was talking to Crystal earlier today, and she did say to me, she said, "Thank you so much for sharing the story. It's crazy how many messages I've received of other IVF moms who are deeply upset by what this woman does. Women feeling like she took that term from all of us by trademarking it." And I think that's a perfect summary. It doesn't belong to one person. Again, I don't know how trademark laws work, but it just seems insane to me that this was even an option. So, yeah, she said, "I'd also love just a general shout out to the infertility community because I can't tell you how many messages I've got from people that are overwhelmingly supportive."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so
maybe we can ask her to be on the podcast.
I would love to. She asked what the podcast was because I said, I've got a podcast and I'd love to bring this up. And so she asked what it was, and she's like, "Can't wait to check it out. Thanks again." So yeah, I mean, she's an IVF mom, IVF mama, IVF boy mama. Let me clear that, right? IVF mama. So yeah, Crystal, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yes, please come.
Yes. Danielle, do you have any updates?
Not really. I'll give you a funny story. Last night, so the weather was wild yesterday. Outside of where I lived was a whole blizzard. Here it was mostly rain and 60 mile per hour, 70 mile per hour wind. And I have this irrational fear of the wind. I don't know why.
I am afraid of the wind too.
Wait.
I am so afraid of the wind.
Tornadoes?
Yes.
Can we unpack that for a second? So are you afraid of the wind because you're afraid of it escalating towards a tornado? Or what is the fear? What's the root cause of the fear?
Oh,
I think it's tornadoes. I've never seen one. But we've had tornado warnings on the East Coast, but rarely do they happen. But also we also have really bad hurricanes on the East Coast. But now I'm in Montana, so I don't know. Maybe I watched Twister and the cow flying through the air really did it for me. So.
There's so much that I'm afraid of with the wind. That is the number one weather thing I'm afraid of. I am most afraid of the wind out of any weather thing.
Same.
I need to know more.
I
don't know where it comes from.
I'm afraid that a tree's gonna fall on my house. I'm afraid that I watched Twister. That was scary. Right now we're really big into what's that song? The Three Little Pigs where the wolf's going to huff and puff and blow your house down. Yep. You know what? The list is endless. I am so afraid of wind. I'm with you,
You
Danielle.
live in the wrong place.
I know. Spring is, I hate spring here because it's so windy here. It's so scary to me.
We have a legit, like a tree fell down from our neighbor's house into our backyard during the, what was it, Sunday that the wind was crazy here?
Yeah.
I walked outside, I don't know, yesterday morning or 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, the actual tree is in our yard. Not just a branch, but the tree. Okay, very interesting. You learn more.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of the wind, but
Wow.
That's great.
I thought everybody was afraid of the wind. Okay.
No,
Learning new things.
It's yeah, terrified. I don't know why. When I first moved here to Montana, I had a massage like scheduled for that day. The wind was 80 miles per hour, and I was like, I am not leaving my house. I canceled, and she just kind of laughed. She's like, yeah, you'll get used to it. I'm like, no, I won't. But literally the windows rattle on the house. You can hear the poles like moving. I know you saw my video on Instagram that I'd posted, and it was just like that was midnight because I couldn't sleep because of the wind. Okay, so my
One more
husband
thing.
had to. Oh, go ahead.
Before we before we pivot from the wind, Lisa, we hiked the tallest mountain in Arizona when it was 60, 70 mile per hour winds.
That's different. That's different. Like if I'm outside in it, I'm fine.
But the trail was
I'm
this
fine.
big. It was like a foot wide.
Oh, I don't.
And we were crawling.
doesn't.
And you were fine with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that doesn't bother me. It's kind of like a dog, like the dogs that are afraid of thunder, but if you go outside, they're fine. That's how I am. Like if I can see the tree actively falling, I'll be all right. But if I can't see the tree and it just falls on my house and squishes me, that's not okay.
Well, no, I would agree that would not be okay. Okay.
That is hilarious. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
It's just like I lost my hat. My hat never came back because it was so windy. It blew off the mountain, and you're telling me that, okay, all right. Continue, Danielle.
Okay. Well, so it was really windy. Ryan had to go and work at midnight because he was like, had to put out a bunch of fires. Not literally, but there was a lot of stuff going on at work. So he had to go in and figure some stuff out. Some people got stuck in the blizzard for 36 hours, some of his guys. So he had to go figure out. And then when one person was going to go save those people, this is off topic, but they got stuck. Then someone else went to go save them. They got stuck. So they couldn't even get them until today, sometime this afternoon. So they got unstuck. But that's how bad the weather was outside, and where we were, it was mostly rain and a little bit of snow. But anyways, I was like, I couldn't sleep because he'd left. And so I was like all worried, and I was looking at my baby monitor, and Weston was awake because the wind kept waking him up, but he wasn't crying. He was fine. He'd try to go back to sleep. He'd wake up. And in my mind, rationally, I was thinking, I bet he'd sleep better in my bed. But really, I think I would have slept better if he was in my bed because I was scared. Not Weston, my 14-month-old. So I was like, he's awake. I'll go grab him, and I'm going to put him in bed, and this will be great because I want like snuggles. And so I laid him down on the bed, and I laid there, closed my eyes, and he just starts giggling and like thought it was so funny and was like trying to crawl over me, and the pillows I set up for safety, he's trying to crawl over those. And then he was standing up, and I was like, that lasted 5 minutes. And I'm like, no, mistake. And I went and laid him back down, and luckily he was fine and went back to sleep. But it was just like, I thought it was funny because I was like, man, I'm going to pull him into bed with me. And so I'll sleep better. I didn't.
I probably would have slept on his floor if I were you.
I thought about it. I thought about pulling in a mat and just sleeping there because Ryan didn't come back home until 5 a.m. But by that time I was passed out. So I finally went to sleep around 2.
Oh, man.
Danielle, funny that you said that. Like Weston thought it was funny and he smiled and whatnot. So the other night was the first... I have to give this disclaimer that we have been so lucky, and we are so grateful for this. But like the last night or the other night was the first night that Weston actually didn't sleep through the night ever. And so we've been really lucky with him. He's been a great sleeper. And so we were really like concerned, kind of thrown off, like didn't know what was going on. But like for, I don't know, like an hour and a half, he was fine in his crib where he was just kind of hanging out. He was awake, but like he was in there. And then he started like walking back and forth in his crib. And then he started crying and started crying pretty hard. And so we took him out of his crib and he straight faced looked us in the eyes and just started laughing. And this was at like 12:30 at night, 12:30 in the morning, whatever you want to call it. And he was just ready to play. And he was laughing, giggling, thought everything was hilarious. And unbeknownst to me, Stephen logged onto the camera the next morning to see what happened because Stephen was with him in the beginning of the night where he was like up and fussy. And then I took over around 12:30. And Stephen took this snapshot from the camera of me. Weston has this like rocking horse that he really loves. And so Weston was on his rocking horse. And the snapshot from the camera is me standing there in my bathrobe just looking like a complete zombie, like WTF, bro. And Weston's on his rocking horse like, woo, having a great old time. Fortunately, he only wanted to play for like 20 minutes and then he went back to sleep for the rest of the night. But I laughed that Weston kind of thought it was playtime because Stephen and I were like so bothered that we were up. But when Weston looked us dead in the eyes and started laughing, we were like, well, it's kind of funny. I mean, what do we do? When a 1-year-old staring at you, looking at you, laughing, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, at least that makes it a little better.
Lisa, awesome. How was your week?
So it's like Doctor Central around here. We're just going to the doctors a lot, but Aubrey has these like a really bad cradle cap. She has really dry skin all over her face. She has dry skin all over her body. She has eczema all over her body, but she like will constantly itch. She'll like constantly itch her head and she'll stay awake. She doesn't sleep very well because she's constantly itching. So the doctor gave us a prescription for a medicine and just to like try to like help get her drowsy so that she doesn't want to itch at night. And so Brandon brings it home from the pharmacy and he's like, all right, so you're going to like pour it on her head. Like you have to like measure out 1.5 ml and you pour it on her head and you like rub it around. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you do that? And he's like, it's just like pour it like with the syringe on her head. And then you'll just like rub it around and then it's going to make her drowsy. I'm like, how is it going to make her drowsy through her head? Like, that sounds like a pretty serious medicine. Like, I don't think this is a good idea that we give her this if this is the case. So he's like, yeah, just do it. Like, just do it. I was like, all right. So I go and I'm like, I'm going to read the bottle and see if there's like better instructions. And I was like, take 1.5 ml orally. And I was like, can you imagine if I wouldn't have read that? And I just put this medicine on her head and just started like rubbing it around on her head. And she'd be like, what are you doing, you crazy lady? I was dying. I was like,
wait, how did Brandon think that the instructions were to pour it on her head? Like, where did he misunderstand the pharmacist here?
Well, that was the worst part was he was the one who picked it up from the pharmacist. And the pharmacist was like, hey, just a heads up. She's going to get drowsy, like whatever. And I was like, so when I read the bottle and Brandon's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I was like, well, how did you get that wrong? He's like, the doctor said she was going to give us some like lotion to put on her head. So I just like figured that's what it was. I didn't even like think about it. I was like, it's literally in like a liquid bottle and they gave you a syringe.
So circling back for any of our avid listeners, gatekeeping is gatekeeping for a reason.
Yes.
Thank God you looked at the instructions, Lisa.
I was actually laughing because I was literally thinking like, okay, is daddy burnout a thing too? Like his brain is just like mush from not sleeping and, we're having big sleeping issues over here and stuff like that. And so I'm like, yeah, I think that's what it was. Cause he was laughing so hard when he realized it, he was like, oh man, can you imagine if we did that?
I can't wait to make fun of him the next time I see you guys.
Yes. Yep. I hope he listens to this and is like, yep, she told, didn't she? Yes.
That's thank you for sharing that because that's pretty good. That's pretty
Yes.
funny. Yeah.
Yes.
How's Hannah been?
You know, I think she's having really bad separation anxiety issues right now. So I picked her up from daycare today and they were like, oh, we had a rough morning with her. So what happened? They said she just kept asking for you guys and we had to explain to her that mommy and daddy went to work and they'll be back. Don't worry. Like, and we've started to think that that might be what's going on for her sleeping issues too. So she's still waking up in the middle of the night, usually like around between 11 and 1. She'll wake up once and like come run in our room and wants to like play. Same thing, wants to play. It's playtime, wants to be close to us and find a way. So that's tough. And then she'll just cry and, whichever one of us goes in, she'll just cry and say, where'd daddy go? Where'd daddy go? If I'm the one who goes in or vice versa. And it's like, so yeah, so we're going to the doctor tomorrow just to kind of be like, hey, is this normal? Like, is there something we can do? Do we just keep going with what we're doing and just keep reassuring her we're here, we're here, we're here? So I think she's definitely, like, we've talked about this and I heard somebody else talk about this, but like with a second sibling, I definitely think, she starts to do like baby voices a lot and lots of baby stuff and wants everything that Aubrey has. And, I think she's just going through some jealousy. She still really loves Aubrey and like today at daycare, Aubrey came in with us and she, like any of the other kids would come around, mine, don't come near, she didn't want anybody near Aubrey because Aubrey was her sister. So I think she's just kind of losing control a little bit and she's just having a hard time with that. So poor thing. We're going to get through it. It's just, she's young and she'll get there, but yeah. So that's what's going on.
That's hard though. I mean, gotta be hard
It
on you,
is.
like to hear like mommy, daddy, right? Like her asking for you and
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting, like the other night, like Brandon puts her down a lot, and I don't put her down as much. And the other night I was like, it's, mommy's turn to put you down. She screamed for Brandon, and I'm not kidding you, it was 15 to 20 minutes, and Brandon's like, I'm surprised you like hung with it. I said, I don't want to get to the point where only you can put her down. Because when you go and play in this hockey tournament in May, how's any of the rest of us going to put her down if we just keep letting her do that? And they keep telling, like, I read a bunch of articles that were like, you just keep telling her that daddy loves you very much, but it's mommy's turn and mommy loves you very much and wants to be able to put you down too. And, it's mommy's turn. So the crying doesn't bother me quite as much as it bothers him. So I kind of like just sit there and I'm like, I know she doesn't mean it against me. Like I didn't take any offense to it. It was just like, okay, how do I distract her enough to get her to let me read her books and do those things? So it's just like trying every tactic in the book and, just staying persistent, trying hard, doing the best we can. So yeah. So that's what we had going on. Yeah. So do we want to jump into mommy burnout? You guys ready? I have a definition I looked up. There's a lot of definitions, but this one I liked. Mommy burnout is the emotional and physical exhaustion you feel from the chronic stress of parenting. There are many telltale signs that mommy burnout is taking a toll on you, but one of the most common warning signs and easily identifiable is if you're struggling to find joy in parenting your child. And I know that that is probably not the case for everybody here, and that is not how they feel, but there are certainly times that I feel oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. I need to walk away. I need to walk outside because I'm getting really upset with my 2-year-old who doesn't know any better, that she's driving me nuts or she's not listening and it's really hurtful to me. So anyway, I don't know if that definition could definitely strike people out on the last parts, but anyway. Yeah.
Can you
What are
think
your guys'
of
thoughts?
like a specific example of when that may have happened? Sorry, I feel like I'm in interview mode.
No, I can tell you for sure. Like, so Hannah's been waking up at, this is very specific, between 4:52 and 5:21 every morning. And yep, very specific. I always look at the clock because I'm like, here we go. It's 4:52. Panic, panic, panic. It's happening soon. And sometimes we make it all the way to 5:21. But on nights where I haven't slept well because Aubrey is, up a lot, or Hannah had been up a lot, she gets me up and I get out to the main room to like hang out with her, and she's like on go 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 mode. Like, I'm a morning person, but when I'm tired I'm not the same, and she wants to get into everything, and I'm like nails on a chalkboard, like, just stop and sit down, please, just stop and sit down, I'm very frustrated, I just need you to calm down and wake up slowly for me. Like, I'm not having fun right now, this is not fun. I would say that is definitely one thing that's sticking out and present right now for me. You guys have any? Go ahead, sorry.
Did you feel like that when you just had Hannah? Like, before, did you feel mommy burnout before you were a mom of two?
I think I had that while I was pregnant with Aubrey, because Hannah started to get into the testing her boundaries mode. I also definitely had it while I was still at home with Hannah on maternity leave, where it was like, and that, again, that was postpartum depression a little bit too, of like, she's crying, I can't right now, I can't function right now, where like, I don't know what to do, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do, I'm tired, and I just am not enjoying this very much right now. Like, that was really hard for me too. So yeah, I would say I definitely had it with just Hannah too. But it's harder right now with the lack of sleep kind of thing. And there are days I wake up and I'm like, oh, today is going to be a good day. Like, I'm going to have a lot of patience. And then the next day I'm like, ooh, boo, it's going to be a rough day. My burnout is here. It is present. Here we are.
So your earliest memory of having mommy burnout was while you were still on maternity leave with Hannah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say probably like when Brandon went back to work and I was soloing it. I would say so. Yeah. How about you, Danielle? Do you have any?
Yeah, I feel like mentally and just emotionally just exhausted. I'm home with Weston all day, and I love that. I wouldn't change that for the world. But then there's just days it's just like, I feel like I've been playing with him for 2 hours and it's been like 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do next? So I feel like burnout, or just exhausted, just tired. I'm like counting down some days, like, when is my husband coming home? Because not that I like high five and leave. Usually we'll have dinner together. Sometimes I do go to a HIIT workout and we do high five and leave. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you. When you're like bedtime, it's usually bedtime story. I usually get back. But I think mine is, I feel there are days I'm like so motivated. I got laundry. I've cleaned the house. I've played with Weston. We've went on a walk. We've done all the things. And then a couple days later, or like a week later, I'm like tired and I don't feel like cleaning anything. And I'm like, so I kind of go in like a roller coaster almost. Sometimes I feel like I'm on top of the world and like got it all together. And then other days I'm just like struggling or just in survival mode, like still in my PJs, like just trying to get through the day. And I don't know why I get that way. And it could be my hormones too, like depending where I am on my cycle when I'm thinking about it. Like maybe it's like near my period and I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this today, but
Totally.
if that makes sense. But I'm trying to think of anything like specific. There sometimes when he was really fussy today because he's got a cold and his like has a molar coming out, and so he's just kind of extra whiny today, and it's just like, I'm so tired. like please come home soon. Like Ryan knows I'm like, come home now, and he knows like, okay, she's tired, but it doesn't make him come home.
First night.
So he's mentally prepared though. When he comes home, he's on.
Yeah, I kind of do similar things to Steven. Like, hey, ready for you to be home. And so he'll come home and be like, Wesson, how are you? Like, so, so Danielle, I mean, you are different than Lisa and I. You're a stay-at-home mom, and Lisa and I both work. And I think that, God, I can only imagine some of the days. Like, I think you've said in previous podcasts, like, right, I can only make a choo-choo noise so many times in a day. Um, so
Yeah.
are there certain things for you that maybe trigger that mommy burnout a little bit more? Like I know for me, on the weekends, I have to get outside with Wesson. Like, if I don't get outside, I will just, for Wesson won't do well and I won't do well. So I'm just kind of wondering, like you're with your son all the time, all day. Are there certain things that trigger or put you into that mommy burnout faster than other things?
Yeah, probably definitely the weather, like you said, because the last few days it's just been too cold, too windy. We've been inside all day, so I'm just trying to find new things to do. If I can't get outside, or if we can't do our walk, I usually do at least a 3 mile walk around the neighborhood. It's like I just, for me, I feel like lazy almost, if that makes sense. And then there's times, and I'm working on this. This is something I've been working on. I like things clean, and when we're in the house, we were messing things up, and then I clean up behind him, and I don't know why I do it because he like pulls it right back out. I'm like, I just need to
Oh, I
wait.
feel that so
But the more I
much.
do that, I'm like, oh, this is stressing me out. So I'll just like leave it until the end of the day, and I've been just cleaning it up just because. But sometimes I just need some order in my life. But I think going behind and picking up after him is get gets me burnt out faster. So I've been telling myself, someone told me, my friend told me this. She was like, no one's going to remember how clean or how messy your house was, but they're going to remember the memories that you made. Something like that. So I try to keep that
I'll be the one to
in
remember
my
how
mind.
clean or messy my house was. Like, nobody else will, but I will remember. And I'm with you. Like, I'm
Yeah.
always picking up right behind Weston. Like, okay, well, we're done with this book. Okay, we're gonna put it away. And it is exhausting. But I'm with you too. Like, need some sort of order and structure, and like cleanliness and maintaining my house for me is something that like I have to do. Like last night Steven and I were just like walking zombies because we hadn't slept well from the night before. And it was quite comical because it was that mommy daddy burnout where, you know, how Lisa, you were just saying, like, did Brandon have daddy burnout? Did his brain just turn off? Yeah, that's kind of what happened to Steven and I yesterday. Um, and Steven was like, yeah, like, I don't think the kitchen's getting cleaned before we go to bed tonight. And I was like, nope, nope, it has to. Like, I cannot wake up and deal with a dirty kitchen. That can't be the first thing that I see in the morning. And so,
I am the
yeah,
same way. Brandon's like, I'll tackle the dishes in the
Same.
morning. I'm like, I can't. I hate doing dishes, but I hate even more waking up to a sink full of dishes and dirty dishes. It just sets my brain off in the wrong way. And if you know there's something that can help you prevent the burnout, that is one thing I will, or a bad day. I don't know if you can call one day a burnout, but if you, yeah, I'm totally with you guys on that. I also, just to make a quick point of the cleanup afterwards, like, so I had read something in the Montessori way that you should never have more than three to five toys out at any one time, because if you do, it's like overwhelming to your kid. They're not really good at focusing, stuff like that. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. Like, we're not going to be able to have a messy house if we only have 3 to 5 toys. Like, we have 3 to 5 toys out. We have probably closer to 10 toys out, but Hannah wants to play with everything that's not a toy. Like, anything we leave on the countertop, anything we find she can get into drawers, she's going to put out. Anything that's ours, she wants a part of. And we're trying to now teach her that if you want to move to the next thing, that you need to put away the first thing. And the tantrums that we go through to try to get her to put things away, very difficult. You know, she's trying really hard to make sure she gets her way. So she's going to sit and she's going to tantrum until we give in. And it's been that's a burnout thing source for me as well, is like, I want, like, we talk about this. It's like training a dog, right? Like, I want to make sure I do the right things to start with so that later on down the road I have the dog that I wanted. I mean, not to compare dogs to babies, but you know what I mean? Like it's kind of similar. Like Hank, there are things I wish Hank is my dog. Hank, there are things that I wish that we would have stuck with that we didn't stick with, and now we have to deal with the repercussions of him jumping on people, which is embarrassing because we could have trained that in the beginning but we didn't. And even at Hannah's um, little like parent teacher conference, they're like, she's not good at putting toys away before moving to the next toy. If you guys can work on that with her, and we're like, oh yeah, we can totally work on that with her. And it's been like a source of like, all right, we have to stay firm on this because if we don't, it's going to be a constantly messy house all the time. And I don't want that. Right. But it's also like, okay, can my patients handle the tantrums to like really stick tough on my guns here? Or do I just give in and like do it for her so I don't have to deal with the tantrum, which creates more issues. Right.
Yeah, I just started like reading that book or listening to the Audible, like the Montessori. I don't know exactly. It's the Montessori.
The Montessori
I'll
baby,
have to, maybe.
that one.
I don't know. I have to look it up. But yes, similar. Just talking about being able to take things and then put them back eventually, like the different things, and learn to clean up after themselves. So I've been trying. I'm like, Weston, pick this up, and he just like leaves. I mean, he's not there yet, I don't think, but it's like easier said than done. I think, at least my understanding or how I'm feeling, anyways. When reading that, I'm like, yeah, it sounds great on paper, but when you try to apply it, it's like it's tough.
I was telling Steven earlier today because Weston now knows like, okay, we're gonna get your shoes and we're gonna go outside or we're gonna go to the car. Like he knows the different doors that we go out of based off of what we say, which I just is incredible to me. And I actually was reminded of one of the times that I was, I don't know, babysitting Hannah when she was younger. And I had said something and she understood. And I remember being completely mind blown that they could understand something at that young of an age. And so I told Stephen tonight, I was like, I remember when Hannah was at this age and like, it just blew my mind that she could comprehend what we were saying. And so now it's really cool to like, Weston tries to put his shoes on, nowhere even close. But he grabs them and he knows that he has to sit down and then he, tries to put them on and it's really cute and it's really cool to see them comprehend that. But he also knows when I'm like, okay, that's not a toy. Can we put this away? And then he's like, no, mom, absolutely not. Hard pass. Like this is my toy right now. This is what we're playing with. All right, you enjoy your Tupperware. So I definitely have not started to draw that line by any means. I'm just like, okay, if that's going to keep you quiet while I'm cooking dinner, then you can play with Tupperware or a whisk. He loves whisks. But Weston's favorite toys are also not toys.
I know. I read a thing that was like, don't buy them a play kitchen. Just let them play in the real kitchen. And I'm like, that's great and fine and all. But when I'm doing dishes and Hannah steps up and starts pouring water all over me, I'm like, oh, this is frustrating. But I also want her to learn. It's tough. Really tough. Patience.
Yeah. So when you guys are going through mommy burnout, what are some specific things that help you process through that, work through it, get you through it?
In the moment, it's breathing, just taking a couple breaths. I've had to walk away before because like I don't know why I'm gonna have the reaction that I'm gonna have, but I just walk off. One day Ryan was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you so upset?" I'm like, "I'm not upset." I was like, "I just need to." I think Weston threw all his food into the floor, and I was about to have a reaction to that, and so I stood up, walked out of the room, and Ryan was like, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "I just need to breathe." I don't know why I was having a reaction to that. It's probably something, everything stems from your childhood, right? Like making a mess or throwing stuff on the floor. And I was like, I didn't want to have a reaction. He's just a baby, and that's normal to throw things onto the floor. And so, yeah, breathing through it, walking away. There's been times I've handed Weston to Ryan And I was like, take the baby. I just need to go for a walk around the block. I've done that before too. But otherwise, exercise.
That's funny, Danielle, and I know I've mentioned this in an episode before, but there's a Daniel Tiger song about this. We listened to the Coco Melon Pandora station, and there's a line in his song that says, "When you feel so mad that you want to roar," he's a tiger, "take a deep breath and count to 4." And so I've started to do that. And like when I'm getting really frustrated, I say it out loud, and Hannah like looks at me and starts laughing whenever I do it, because I have to do it. And it does help. Like I'm like taking a deep breath, but also counting to 4. And it seriously helps, like in the moment, to be able to help to relax a little bit. But I agree with you both. Going outside is huge for me. Like being outside, it just seems like everything gets better. But again, we live in a place where sometimes outside is not a very good option, right? Don't know when that wind is going to kick up and run inside.
I felt like today, well, I've felt like the last couple of weeks professionally have been complete and utter chaos. And today was non-stop, no breaks, just go, 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 go. And so I actually ended up taking like a little bit of a shorter day, and I was like, I'm going on a walk. Weston and I put him in the stroller, went on a walk. Yeah, for me, outside is pivotal. And when outside has been unavailable, I have totally been that person that I judged my whole life growing up and been a mall walker. I have taken Wesson in the stroller to the mall, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like the mom that I used to make fun of when I was a kid. When I would go to the mall to hang out because it was cool as a teeny bopper, and then you'd see those moms there with their strollers and like doing laps and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I am who I made fun of when I was a kid.
That's awesome that you do that and that you think to do that. I think that's great.
And can I just say, you said teeny boppers. My mom said that word all the time. I love it. I haven't heard that since my mom.
But I want to go back real quick. Like it's funny now being an adult and being a mom, because I look back and I think of my mom, and I think she was really like ahead of the times, or just like really naturally smart. I'm not sure what it was. Probably a little bit of combination of both. I'll give my mom a little bit more credit than that. Sorry. But she, when we were kids, when we would get upset, she would be like, okay, you need to count to 10 and take some 10 deep breaths. Like that was very much her thing. And so that's kind of what I always grew up with. And I don't know where things, because I feel like there was probably a gap in time where people like weren't as in tune with breath work or breathing or finding ways to self-soothe, essentially. And I think we're getting back there. Like I think the pendulum has swung back where people are more mindful, are more, doing the breath work. Yoga is a lot more involved in our culture now, but yeah, my mom raised us like that. And so it's always been something where Steven makes fun of me sometimes because I'm like, and he's like, why are you doing that? I'm like, I'm just taking a breath. I'm like, it's a form of self-soothing and regulating for adults. So
Leah, I'm laughing because there are times that I think, and especially being on this podcast, and I know, Danielle, you don't live in Flagstaff, but you have ties to Flagstaff, and like we have very similar values on things. And I wonder about people in different areas of this country, if they do. I know yoga has gotten big in the country, but like, does everybody feel the same way we do about things, right? Or is it like our generation that's really similar on those styles and those things? Or do we live in a bubble of, we feel similarly about fluoride toothpastes and, like stuff like that, right? Like I think about that because I have family in Chicago and friends in Chicago. I have family and friends in Hawaii. I have family and friends, like in different parts of the country. And I wonder if they do think the way we do about the breathing thing, and do they have those resources. And we have an episode coming up that we recorded previously where we talked to somebody, and listening to her talk about her experiences in Ohio, I was like, that's really interesting. That's not something we experience in Flagstaff. And so I, like I would be interested to know, and I'm hopeful like the guest portion of our show takes off, because I thought that was awesome. And I'm so excited. And just to tease that episode next week, I really hope you guys tune into that, because it's really cool to see other perspectives than ours. And maybe people's burnout and burnout coping is different than ours. Right. But anyway, sorry. Back to that. I think that is super progressive of your mom. That was incredible. I don't think my mom ever would have thought that, or even now would think to do that.
Well, and I was asking my dad, because we were talking about screen time, and we were only allowed 30 minutes of TV a day. And that was once we were, God, I had to have been maybe 10. But before that, we weren't allowed to watch TV except for on family Friday nights. And so I was like, Dad, what was Mom's thing with that? Like, she was so strict on that. She's like, you guys can go outside, you can play, and you can do that. But I was like, but what was Mom's thing on that? Because there's a lot of science and research behind those types of things now. And there's a lot of studies that people are dedicating their time to figure out if there's pros or cons to it. And he's like, I just think your mom was just ahead of the times on things. I'm like, it's really interesting, because I never thought about that until some of these things are coming up now that we're facing in motherhood ourselves. I'm like, oh, my mom did that. Oh, okay. But Lisa, I do think that we live in a bubble with like-minded individuals. I know that, because I talk to people in big cities, just general big cities, right? And things are substantially different. And, I think to my own experience as well, is that I had such a hard time in adulthood figuring out where I fit in. And I moved everywhere trying to find that, like seeking that level of comfort. And it wasn't until I moved back to Flagstaff that I made my first adult friend, which was you. And so it was like, I do think that, and Danielle, I include you in this as well, because I think we are like-minded individuals, right? And that's how we kind of all came together. But and part of that, I think too, is that there's a lot of different things in big cities, and there's a lot of things that we do without living in smaller cities. That are options in bigger cities and make things a little bit more convenient. Living in small towns isn't the most convenient living situation of all time. This blogger that I follow does this great, or Instagrammer, influencer, whatever they're called, did this awesome breakdown of like fast, easy things I buy for my toddler from Costco food wise. And I was like, oh, that's great. But and I messaged her. I was like, do you have one for Sam's Club? Because we don't have a Costco. And she's like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. And I was like, okay, like my dad has a Costco and a Sam's Club. But so yeah, I do kind of think that we live in some element of a bubble with like-minded individuals. And I agree with you that opening up the perspectives and interviewing people from other areas is going to be really interesting for us.
Yeah, that's funny though. You consider Flagstaff a small town, because I'm from a small town and it's not as big as Flagstaff. But I will say that where I'm from, I feel like I was never taught breath work or how to manage my emotions. Like if you're upset, you're like a drama queen. Like stop being a drama queen. That's just what was told to me, and it's just like I wasn't taught how to manage these big emotions that I was having. And so I struggle still. Like sometimes I have these emotions and not sure how to like express them. I cry for everything. I'm crying when I'm angry, when I'm happy, when I'm sad. Like I'm very sensitive and emotional, like, which is when I say it's fine, but when people were telling me like my parents do say I'm their emotional child. I'm their sensitive child. They make it kind of a negative thing. And I'm like, this is why I have a hard time expressing how I feel, because I don't feel like I'm taken seriously. So I wasn't really taught that stuff until I moved out of my small town, I guess, to a bigger city. And then I met my colleague in Maryland, and I feel like she really helped me, like, just like how. And then also I did therapy, but she was just kind of like, well, why do you think you feel that way? Where's that stemming from? And yeah. But going back to, you were saying breathing. I don't know if you've heard about it's like the five senses. Like, if you're having a moment, yeah, it's five things you can see. And if I get this wrong, you can correct me. Five things you can see. Is it four things that you can feel? So like right now, I can feel the chair on my back. I can feel my feet on the floor, my hands on the table, my clothes on my skin. Was that five? I meant four. And then three things you can hear, two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. And that kind of like grounds you, brings you back to reality when you're having, you know, that stress induced thing. And I'm saying this to you, and you guys know I had an anxiety attack last week, and I didn't do any of that. I was just like crying it out. but yeah, I did feel better.
That's a big
crying.
thing that, we even talked to you about that in the group text of like, it's okay for your kids to see that. Like when Brandon at times will be like, Hannah, stop crying. And I'll be like, we don't say that. I know she seems like she's faking it, but she's trying to tell us something. And we don't want to suppress emotions. And I don't want to teach her that suppressing emotions is the proper thing to do, because look at all of us unpacking some of that past of ours of, suppress, or you're my sensitive child, make me feel bad about being a sensitive child. It's like, yeah, like the burnout is real, and the anxiety attacks are real, and that stuff is very scary and very real. And we, as a group, I think it is awesome to be able to talk about this stuff openly. Like I don't know how many people I've told we have this podcast, and they're like, I don't have anybody I can talk to about that kind of stuff. And you guys are so vulnerable and so real in it. It makes me feel not alone. And for me to know that you guys experience burnout as well makes me feel like, okay, I'm not alone. Like I feel crazy because I'm doing this I'm feeling like a bad mom because I feel bad, like that, because I don't want to parent right this moment, because it's really hard. And this is the hardest thing I've ever done, to stay like this. So I think strength in numbers helps me a little bit, at times, not when I'm in the moment, but when I'm out of the moment. I do think that is a big thing. I don't know if this is the time to do it, but I'm reading an article, alongside us talking, but about mommy burnout, and it's the website's dfwchild.com, but they're talking about what causes mommy burnout, and then ways to circumvent it. And it's a long game. It's not like yes, we can cope with it in the moment, but to try to get through it and try to have less burnout is a long game, and you have to have a lot of grace on yourself, which is really hard for all of us, I know, in this group.
So, I mean, I knew we were talking about this topic tonight, and we decided to face this topic because one of our listeners submitted it and asked us to talk about it, and which I think is awesome. So I'd love to gather more feedback from listeners as well as things that we'd like to talk about. But going into it, I really didn't feel like I had all that much to contribute. I'll be completely honest, I don't regularly or often, and I can't really pinpoint a time down that I have felt like I've really had mommy burnout. I've had burnout from work, no questions asked, but like, I don't feel like I fit into that category right now, and that could change. That might come around, but I say that because today I did take time to go have lunch. So one of my favorite things to do, or was to do before I had Wesson, was I used to love to go out to eat by myself. was talking to a coworker today, and she's like, you enjoy that? And I was like, I will, any day of the week, I will go out to eat by myself. Absolutely. I love doing that. But I haven't done it. I honestly don't think I've done it since Weston was born. And today I had time in between a meeting, and I went out and had food by myself, went out to a restaurant that I absolutely love, ate by myself, and sat on the patio. And as I was sitting there, I was like, I took a deep breath. I took a deep sigh. I was like, wow, this is nice. And then as I was reliving that in my brain a little bit later this afternoon, I was like, maybe there is some element of mommy burnout where I like appreciated that so much more than I think I ever did in the past. But I enjoyed it. I had my work phone with me, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll like work while I'm eating my lunch. And at one point I was like, you know what? I'm putting everything down. I am just eating and using my five senses to see what's around me, smell what's around me, taste what's in my bowl. And it was wonderful.
I do think that there is something to be said with, like I say to Brandon a lot of times when I'm like, ooh, breathe, breathe, breathe. I'm like, what did we do before kids? He's like, we sat on the couch and we did whatever we wanted. And I was like, oh, what was that like? Yeah, like, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Oh, I was just going to throw also when I feel burned out, I just like book a ticket to Hawaii for my in-laws. Here's your grandson.
Yes.
I'm going to the pool. See you later.
It's totally realistic for everybody else.
Yeah. You all should have in-laws that live in Hawaii. Come on.
That being said, I'm spending Mother's Day on an airplane out to Hawaii. So.
Woo!
Ooh.
It's coming soon.
It's coming fast. Yeah, I know. Lisa, is there anything that article that you're reading calls out for, tips and tricks?
There's quite a few things. Like, it's going to be really hard not to call them all out because I think there's a lot in here that's really good. So I'm going to list a few. So spend time with other people. That's what the research is clear on. Our loneliness is driving an incredible level of stress. There is a point where they say unrealistic expectations, whether self-imposed or societal, along with a host of other problems, including lack of face-to-face connections, absence of familial support, and hyper-involved parenting are leading to mommy burnout, which I thought was really interesting. Another thing is saying no to social invitations and school commitments unless they're guaranteed to bring joy to your family, which I think is really cool. Focus on your genuine emotional well-being and not just distracting your mind. Let me see. We're going to have to lower our standards for how the towels are folded. I thought that one was a good one.
I did that a long time ago.
I can't do that. One of my first jobs out of college was working in the housekeeping department at a luxury resort. I will never not be able to fold my towels a specific way. And that's like the kitchen thing. Like, it would make me crazy if I went to bed with a dirty kitchen, if I woke up and there were towels folded the wrong way.
Yep. That's a funny one. Like, I think that one's more of like a targeted at Brandon kind of thing, because he definitely is the same way. Like, we used to be so clean. We're not clean anymore. And like when he gets like to his breaking point, he knows that the messiness is like what gets him really bad. And so he'll go and he'll just like clean everything. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. It's so nice for me because I don't want to do the work, but I want it to be done. So he's awesome at that. And I really appreciate that very much, because that also does, like we said, if I wake up in the morning and there's a sink full of dishes, that just immediately sets me off. And I just trying to avoid that right now. So so then there's she also talks about social media detoxes, set on hours, wait to scroll Instagram until your morning routine is complete, which is a suggestion. Set a curfew at night. Can be simple as not scrolling 15 minutes before bedtime. Earmark vacation days. Set your phone aside for a full day or gasp, a weekend. Be cognizant of whom you choose to follow. I think that one was a big one. that had I stayed on social media, I would have had to go through and get rid of a lot of people because my jealousy of traveling people that I used to follow in my traveling days was really a struggle for me. Like, oh, they get to keep traveling and seeing all these places, and I am not doing that, and that is really, really hard for me. Um, yeah. Yeah, set your phone aside when spending time with loved ones. This is a struggle for me. I am really, really struggling with my phone right now, and I'm not on social media, and I still find things to get on my phone about. And I'm like, and I keep telling Brandon, like, help me. If you see me do it, like, put it away. But he and I both have the same issue. You know, if he's not on the phone, I'm on the phone. If I'm not on the phone, he's on the phone, and like, I just I know that it's my way of being like, well, it's getting my brain to cleanse, right? It's getting my brain to take my mind off of how I feel like I'm not doing a great job at parenting. But all I can think is, man, this addiction is bad. This is a bad addiction. And it's scary to me how I could be missing out on moments of my child, and my child stares at me staring at my phone, and that's really bad to me. And I really want to work on that. And I don't know if anybody has any good tips there. Let me know, because man, I struggle with that.
Yeah, let me know too, because I'm struggling with that too. And like, I almost feel embarrassed for saying it. I deleted Instagram and Facebook, but when we started this podcast, I re-uploaded it so I could like post the stuff. But it would be great if I would just reshare our stuff and not look at it. But it's like, even when I'm searching for the internet, I all of a sudden pull up Facebook. I'm like, I didn't want to look at Facebook. I wanted to, and the same thing. Like, it's almost something to do, and I'm like, I don't want Weston to see me on the phone, but then somehow it ends up back in my hand and I'm looking at it again. It's ridiculous. And it makes me really sad. And I feel like a bad mom. I follow this person on Instagram who talks about, like, makes videos of what their kid looks like when he's scrolling on his phone versus him being very active um, and engaged with his children. And I'm like, oh, I'm a terrible mom because now I'm watching this video about him talking about not being on your phone while Weston is awake. It's so I'm really, really
I wonder
struggling
if
with that.
that's something that we can do together, like strength in numbers kind of thing. You know, like I'm a type of person who, you know, I can sometimes be self motivated, but like when I haven't been to the gym in a long time, it's really helpful when a friend is like, hey, why don't you come to the gym with me? Like Allie was doing that. A girlfriend of ours, Allie, was doing that for me a while back. And I went all the time because of her, and I probably would have hit the snooze on that 5 a.m. workout if it weren't for her. And I really appreciated that. And so maybe that's something that we can do, like as a group, to try and like help each other. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we could check in our screen times at the end of the week.
Stephen and I do that because the phone is such a pet peeve of mine, especially when Weston's awake. So, not to say that something that happened on accident, and this was like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Somehow all of my notifications got turned off on my phone. And so I wasn't getting notifications for anything. And let me tell you, it was the most incredible thing because I didn't pick up my phone nearly as much. It drove Steven nuts. And so I had to figure out a way to get him back on because in case Steven needed anything or like it was important, but I wasn't getting notifications. And I found myself going hours without my phone and not even having it near me or anything like that. And even today, I had my phone set to do not disturb for like 5 hours, and it was awesome. Like
It is.
I think Lisa, I think you and I were talking about this like last week or something, where I was talking about like my hometown in Michigan where I grew up. Like when I go back in the summer, there's no cell phone service on the beach, so it's like still just so awesome because I'm like, please don't ever build a cell phone tower near where people can get access on the beach because we need that. Like our phones have become so controlling of our lives. And think back to like, what did we do before that? Everybody was still fine. And I think relationships may have been a little bit stronger. There wasn't this like distraction of people getting together and then everybody sitting there on the couch on their phones. Like that makes me crazy. But I also strongly believe in accountability partners. So I think Danielle, like that's yeah, hey, let's share our screen time for the week. Or something that I did to kind of like placate myself was I set time limits on apps, which totally didn't do anything because you can have the option to snooze that time limit. And so so I did that every single time. But I put it there to be like, okay, well, this is going to help me. But I think if we support each other through it, I think there's a lot more to that. Being like, yeah, I had a hard week this week. This is what I looked at, or like this is how long I was on my phone. Or
Yeah. When Hannah was born, like the first 3 months when you're like sitting on the couch because they sleep so much, I was like Instagram, and I just would cry and cry and cry looking at this stuff. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to delete Instagram and I'm going to delete Facebook. And so I did. And then I'd re-download it because somebody would be like, oh, did you see my message? And I'd be like, no. Oh, I got to go download it. Right. And then I was like, all right, well, this is silly. I can check in on my computer. And I'm going to just do it on my computer and I'm going to ban them from my phone. So I actually blocked them on my phone, which you can obviously go and unblock them eventually, but I forgot how to unblock them and I'd have to Google it every time. And it was like, by that time I got so distracted that I would go do something else. Right. So it was great. And then eventually I was like, whoa, I made it 2 days without being on Instagram. I was like so excited. And I think you guys know now, like I have Instagram and I only go on my phone or only on my computer, and I have Facebook and I only go on my computer. And I find myself like I'm behind on the messages and stuff. Like I'll have like 15 messages, usually like 14 and a half of them are from my brother, but like, like I'll go and I'll be like, I don't miss it and I don't think about it. And then like Brandon will say, oh, I sent you a really good Instagram of like a recipe for toddlers or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's why I go to it. But it's such a freeing feeling to like, when people are like, what are you looking at on your phone? And I'm like, pictures of my kids. Like, I feel like such a, like a weirdo. Like I stare at pictures. Brandon's like, they're right in front of you. I'm like, I know, but like 2 days ago when Aubrey smiled at me and I got on camera, like that's the one thing where I keep saying, I think I could get rid of my phone and a lot of my stress if I could just not have, like, the camera thing is the biggest thing for me. Like I just want a camera and at all times. And that's the problem. Like Hannah was doing this really cute dance this morning and I pulled out my phone to take it and she like froze because she saw the phone on her. And I was like, oh, that's really bad. That's really sad that she knows enough to know that the phone is doing that, like I don't want her to grow up like that. Right. And I think I said in an earlier episode, like, the nice thing is the first 2 years, they don't really form memories where they don't remember these things you're doing. But then you start to get to a point where they're starting to remember things and you're like, oh boy, now I'm on. Now I need to start being the person I really want to be. And that's the hard part, right? Because, well, if that's the case, then I should have been practicing for 2 years, not being on my phone and not doing these things, So I feel like this episode we're gonna have to rename to not be Mommy Burnout, but like brain dump.
Let's talk about everything we're thinking.
but I think in some element all of these things contribute to mommy burnout.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like looking at my phone is because I'm burnt out. Like I just need a break from reality.
But the caveat to that is that it's not a true disconnect and it's not a true.
It's not a healthy coping mechanism. Drinking and looking at your phone, and all those things aren't healthy coping mechanisms. Even though I like drinking wine. Oh no, I do. But like exercising, journaling, if you like to paint or if you're a good drawer, I said exercise. Exercise is mine. But just something that you love that just, that makes you feel good, that's healthy for you, is a good way to find an outlet of the stress or that the burnout that you're feeling. So
That's definitely one of the points that that they make on this article is be proactive in preventing stress, whether it's running, meditating, or painting. Do whatever works for you consistently. And Danielle, it's a great point. Like, so I don't know if you guys returned the little gift I gave you, but I bought a 5-year journal where you write in it every day for 5 years, so you can compare like, next year I can look back and it'll be on the same page and it'll be like, what did I write down for today of what I did? And I've started to do that every single night before I go to bed. Like, what was my favorite moment for Aubrey and what was my favorite moment for Hannah of the day? And, it's really sad because like a lot of it is like, Aubrey's sick again today, like that's not the kind of stuff you want to remember, but it is like, like stuff like that. I think it may make me want to get to start writing more because I forget how good I feel when I journal. Like I get it on the paper and I never have to look at it again. I never have to feel it again because it's on paper. Now it's out of my brain. I don't have to think about it. And I actually am reading, ironically, I listened to a podcast and the lady he had on that was being interviewed has written a bunch of books, but this one is about writing a book, like how to write a book. But I didn't know that's what it was when I rented it, and I'm reading it and I'm like, I kind of want to write a book now. Like she makes it sound like a terrible experience, but
brain dump continuation coming. We've been talking a lot about passive income. And one of those things that's on everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm looking at is like write a book, self-publish a book. And so I've had this idea for a book ever since Wesson was born. And I've got most of it like kind of written out, just a child's book. Like, don't give me any more credit than where credit is due. But I looked into self-publishing a book. It's not like it's super cheap. So sorry, you were talking about writing a book, and I was just like, I was so peeved by that because I actually like started talking to a publisher last week, and I was like, oh yeah, like not a publisher, but like a company that helps you self-publish. And I was like, even self-publishing this, like this is a significant investment. My uncle has a couple books that he has written and published on Amazon, so I may reach out to him as a resource. But like, yeah, writing a book doesn't sound as easy as it, or may not be as easy as it sounds.
No, she makes it sound like a horrible process. Yeah.
Today was complete and utter chaos the whole day for me. And I was like, maybe I should just like not record tonight. But this is such a nice outlet for me. Like
same.
This actually makes me feel so much better just about everything after we're done. And it brings me so much joy. So I was like, no, I need to do it. Like I will get energized by being here talking to you guys. Whereas my energy tank, I was at empty earlier today. So it's like, there are those alternative ways of, I don't know, refilling your cup, I guess, per se.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think the connection point, like they make in that article, is like connecting with others is huge to help with mommy burnout for sure. Danielle, I mean, I think you've started having a lot more play dates and meeting more people, and that has to be helping a little bit at least, hopefully. So that's good.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you read that, I'm like, absolutely. Because I felt so alone, so isolated. Like, what? I don't know. Like, what am I doing? But once I started making friends and having play dates and like even meeting with y'all, it's been amazing. And I feel like the burnout is less because I feel like I have people to talk to, moms who understand. I'm not saying my husband don't understand, but that, our husbands, we think on a different wavelength.
Our husbands try to put antihistamines on the head instead of in the
mouth. Right. Yes. I actually keep meaning to, and I haven't done this, but my grandparents read Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, like at the same time, not together. And they
Yeah.
were like mind blown by it. And I remember them being mind blown by it. I mean, my grandparents have been gone a long time. They've been dead a long time. So it was a long time ago that they read this, but I keep meaning to read it to kind of see if it like ahas me to any of the things that happens with Brandon, but haven't done that yet.
That is such an instant flashback to my childhood because I can vividly remember like my parents had that as one of their Bible study books.
Whoa.
And like read it as a couple's group.
Oh.
And I remember my mom just being like, "You're from Mars." And like I vividly remember the name of that book. Holy cow, that's a flashback right there. But I've never read it either. Maybe we should do a book club on it.
Yes.
I also read a book called Love and Respect. I don't know if that's the full title of it, but it is more of like a Christian style book, but it is like we want love and I guess men want respect. And so it kind of talks about like the cycle. So we're like showing that we appreciate the things that they're doing. And then in the return, we get love is I guess the theory behind it. But
do you guys know your love language?
Oh gosh. What is it? Acts of service and words of affirmation.
Yeah, words of affirmation,
yes.
physical touch, gifts, and
so it's gifts, acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch.
Those are all yours?
Those are.
You were just.
I need them. I need them all.
I was like, wow.
Send me all the gifts. Just kidding.
Lisa, do you know yours? Have you read that?
You know what? I didn't get through it. I read it, but I didn't read the whole thing. Do you know what yours are, Leah? Or is?
Yeah, mine is physical touch and quality time.
Nice. I'd have to go through it again. I'm trying to think.
And it's interesting because I'm so curious as to like how our childhood or how we're raised impacts our love languages in any ways, because I think about it and my family does not hug. My family never has hugged. I get really uncomfortable when people aside from Steven hug me.
Really?
Even in our group of girls, like I am so weird with physical touch with anyone but Steven. And
you have to hate Michaela's hugs then. Michaela holds you long. Danielle, do you notice that?
She does.
Yes. Yeah.
Michaela, I love you so much, but the hugs are so hard.
I love it. I love her hugs.
Start patting on the back.
No, and I think, I do. I like Michaela's hugs because I think we've gotten to that point like in our friendship and our relationship and it's something that I expect from her and I know that. But like a lot of my career is spent in the hospitality industry and people are very incestuous in the hospitality industry.
Not literally.
So everybody hugs. Oh, literally.
No, I mean, not like with their parents and their brothers and sisters.
No,
like they stay within the hospitality people. They don't want to make them. Yes, I knew Danielle was going to be like, "What?"
Thank you for clarifying. What are you
I knew that was going to be an issue. No, they're not literally incestuous.
Let's clear that
People
up.
in the hospitality industry recycle each other. Maybe that's a little bit more appropriate.
That's much better. They date within the industry.
They date within the industry, and But everybody used to like always try and give hugs, and I just hated it. But I need that from Steven. I need the physical touch from Steven. I need that to be the love language that I get from him. So I always kind of giggle and think about it because I'm like, yeah, my love language is physical touch. And it has been in like previous relationships as well, right? But like, I honestly, aside from the time that I came home and surprised my mom for Christmas, I don't know when my family gave hugs.
How are you with Weston? Weston, not Weston. That would be weird. Don't do that to Weston. Sorry, Weston. Oh man, it's not even that late now. We're going off the rails already. Sorry. Weston.
With Wesson, I'm holding him as much as I can, like getting hugs from him all the time. Like it's, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I like love to cuddle him as much as he'll let me cuddle him, which is not that often. He's very independent and likes his own space. But when he's tired or upset or something, he'll like let me cuddle him and hold him, and I will like literally hold him as tight as I possibly can. Um, so yeah, that was a total pivot. Topic change, mind dump.
Yeah. One of the one of the questions on here, or Lisa, you made a note, is like, does this create mom brain? And I think we just proved that burnout creates mom brain because we did not stay on topic.
Yeah, right.
Michelle's not here to keep us. She keeps us on topic.
Yes. You know, it's funny because I was like, oh, it's just the three of us tonight. It's gonna be a shorter recording.
Okay. All right. Let's just wrap up mommy burnout. Is there anything you guys want to add to mommy burnout? Is there anything you guys think that we left out? And is there any message you want to send to our listeners about mommy burnout?
I mean, I'd love for people to share like what their coping mechanism is, because I think it is different. And like you were saying, like geographically, maybe just even as specific as that is, there could be other ways that people cope with mommy burnout. And I think we can all kind of learn from each other and be like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So if people have recommendations of what they do, then please send them to us. Or if you need a little extra love and support for mommy burnout, that's what we're here for too.
Yeah, and I just want to say that you're not alone, and find that community, find someone to talk to, and just remember that we all go through it and we manage it in different ways, and just finding what works best for you.
I love that. And to add on to that, you know, like I said from that article, it's a long game, right? It's not like we're going to cure this in one thing that we're going to say. Like Danielle said, try to find somebody you can talk to about that. And if it's us, shoot us a DM and Instagram on any of our socials or our email address. You know, it's really fun hearing from our family and friends saying, man, it's really fun listening to you guys. I feel like I know who you guys are. It's like, great, then reach out to us. Like, we're here to help. We want to be able to help people. If you're interested in being a guest on our show too, come on, because we would love to hear what people have to say. If you want to talk about your birth story, you want to talk about, you know, whatever it is happened that week, you know, please reach out to us. So that's our plug at the end of the episode usually, but let's jump into Mother's Day really quickly. Danielle, I think you want to take the things you do or do not want as a mother, and we can also like spin off of that. This topic could be a long one as well, because I know.
Are we going to talk about like personally what we?
Yeah. Is there anything you personally would want?
Well, yeah. If money wasn't an issue, I'm not saying money is an issue. If money, like, if I could spend money, it would be send me on a vacation with all my other mom friends, and yeah, you stay home with the baby. That'd be great. But that's not realistic for everybody. So, really, what I would want is for one, the house to be clean the bathrooms, do the laundry. Like, I just want it to be clean so I don't have to stress about that on that day. Like, oh, I need to like do all this stuff. And then if you're planning something like dinner or, you know, an outing or something like that, like, I don't want to have to make any decisions that day. And that includes my son's meal. So if you're going to cook dinner, if you're going to take care of all the meals, also be prepared, like, what meal my son's going to eat to, like, do we need to modify it? Like, I don't want to have to make a decision at all. And then a massage would be great. So then when I go to my massage, I won't have to think about what I'm cooking for dinner for myself, my husband, and my son. And I know the house is clean, so I can clear my mind and get like a good massage and be relaxed. That's what I want. What I don't want is like, I don't need jewelry. I don't need flowers. I mean, I like flowers, but they make me a little sneezy when they're in the house.
Me too.
Like, I don't want an appliance. I don't want a plant to take care of. Like, I don't need something else to take care of. But some people love plants.
Hey,
But that's just me.
So does Ryan make dinner for Weston?
Not typically. No, like he made chicken pot pie the other day, and Weston ate that. Now that he can handle like the chicken a little bit better, but before I'd have to be like, I'm like, did you shred the chicken? And he's like, nope. And so now I'm having to like pull the chicken apart. So because they're like in like little chunks. So not typically. Usually I have it prepped, or I'll tell him what to make, and he'll do it. I will say he will make a avocado egg like salad, and we put it on toast. He'll do that. That's his go-to when I'm like, I don't know, you have dinner. He'll boil some eggs and do that.
That's great.
But yeah.
Leah?
So I don't like things. I don't like clutter. Like, my house is very minimal. I don't like stuff. I've moved so many times that everything I owned like used to literally just fit in my VW Bug convertible. And so I don't want tangible things. I do want spa treatments. 100%. And that applies to any time there's a gift involved in any capacity. If you get me a spa treatment, that's all I ever want. Like literally, like that's it. Like, I do like flowers. I like flowers a lot. But I also buy myself flowers like every week. Or Steven will buy, like, there's usually flowers in the house all the time. So it's like not
nice
something wildly out of the blue, but yeah, I'm spa treatment. That's it.
I'm kind of in the same boat, Danielle, as you, of like, please take the girls to school, the next day, like, so I don't have to think about it. And I have like at least 15 minutes of silence before I go to work, or like, you think about what dinner's going to be tonight, or, taking that stuff off my plate is really, really nice. Yes, in an ideal world, we would be, being able to go out with the girls and the adult girls, not my daughters, and just kind of relaxing and having a child-free moment would be ideal. But even Brandon asked me, he's like, what do you want for Mother's Day? He used to be, like, before the girls were born, the best gift giver ever. Like, he was so thoughtful and so, like, things I didn't even know I wanted. And usually it was experiences, it wasn't necessarily things, but sometimes it was things that I didn't know I needed, and I needed them, and they've changed everything. And he said to me, what do you want for Mother's Day? I'm so sorry. I used to be so good at this. And I'm like, our brains are not on full functioning mode right now. And that's okay. And we understand that, I said, can you, to hit on the plant mode, can you buy us some seeds, some vegetable seeds, so we can, make our own vegetables in our hydroponic thing in our house? And he was like, that's so boring and lame. And I'm like, I know, but like, we've been talking about it for months. If we finally get it done, like, that makes me feel good that we finally knocked something off the list, because our list just keeps growing of things we need to do and not going down. So if we can knock that list down a little bit, that'd be great. But I also, like I said, I debated not getting you guys those journal things, but it was such a cool thing for me. Like, I really enjoy it. That is something that I think I would have really enjoyed him getting. Like, hey, why don't we remember these things? Because we won't remember, like, that Hannah cannot for the life of her say popsicle. And I think it's the cutest thing, because she's like, popsicles. I want a possible. I want a possible. And we're like, what do you want? I don't understand. She goes to the freezer and she opens the freezer and she said, possible. And she yells it at us. And we're like, I won't remember that, right? Like, I know one day I probably won't remember exactly how it's said. So I'm going to write it in that little journal. And that's like something that's really, really cool for me. For my mom, I just bought her a Tell Me Your Life Story Mom book. And it essentially is a journal, and it leads her through her life. And then she writes down memories of throughout her life. because she's really like sentimental like that. Like that's a big thing for her, that she's gonna love it. I know she's gonna love it, and I know some people don't like that kind of stuff, but yeah, for her, I know that that's gonna be a hit. I'm really excited to give that to her, especially since I haven't given her anything in like years.
So, would love your insight on this. What do you think is a good gift for your mother-in-law?
I just let my husband figure that out.
Yeah, if I do that, she's just getting flowers. Like she
Mhm.
just got for her birthday last month.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon always sent her a card, his mom a card, and like wrote like they're very big on writing thoughtful messages and cards. And then the one year he forgot to send it, and I was like, "Well, just send flowers." And she got flowers, and she cried, and she's not an emotional person at all. And she was like, "He's never done this for me." And I'm like, "That's crazy," because to me, like the thoughtful message would have been more meaningful than, "Oh shit, I forgot. I'm gonna get you flowers," kind of thing. But in my opinion, like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. And knowing your mother-in-law, I'm trying to think of what would be a good gift for her, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really really perplexed at what to do this year. Last year I got her a custom necklace with Weston and Olivia's name on it.
Oh,
Olivia's my niece.
oh, that's sweet.
And she seemed to like it. She wore it, at least while she was around me.
That's good.
But yeah, I don't know what to do this year.
You know what, for my mom, I take back that we hadn't given her anything until the girls, came along. So because she loves mugs, like my mom eats ice cream out of mugs, my mom eats her yogurt out of mugs, she eats everything out of mugs. We got her mugs with the girls' faces on them, but then I was like, the problem is at a certain point you're gonna have too many mugs. That's a lot. So but I know my sister-in-law does the same thing. She tries to do, I think she tries to do like calendars every year with the kids on them. So like something that you can do the same thing every year so you don't have to think about it. I think maybe she did hand and footprints for Mother's Day. Calendars were like Christmas, stuff like that. So she tried it, which is really smart. So then you don't have to like come up with something every year. And then they look forward to getting that calendar or getting that, thing. That's what I tried to do that the year after Hannah was born. I tried to do like a calendar of like what we were doing in January with her, what we were doing in February, March, April, May, and like put picture collages up on the calendar for that. That was fun to look at. Yeah.
Well, according to this website here, it's a radio station, K102. It says about 60% of mothers just want to be surrounded by their family. 68% saying family is their favorite way to celebrate. Let's see, 48% of moms, especially for brunch, I love brunch, like want to go out, and eat. And then it says 25% say it's the preferred meal that they enjoy on the holiday. 15% of people actually want the opposite. They want to just spend time alone. It says 19% of millennial moms. Oh, it gets specific. They want to take time for themselves. And it says Gen X moms feel the same, about 17%. Man, there's a lot of statistics here. Let's see. About 14% want to escape on Mother's Day. I don't know where they want to go. I guess to the beach, maybe. 32% of all moms would like to be treated to a spotless house without having to lift a finger on Mother's Day. That's me. I'm part of that. Let's see here. I thought I read something. Oh, they want to do without the chores or responsibilities, about 21%. So a lot of people, it sounds like a lot of these moms just want either time to themselves, time together, or they just want a clean house, want some food, not make decisions. So about 29% of moms want flowers, it says. And then 24% want jewelry.
That's higher than I would have thought, honestly.
Yeah.
Being that none of us here really want jewelry.
Oh, well, 24% of a personalized gift, and then like 21% of like jewelry or fashion accessories. And then 21% want a family outing. I don't want to go to a restaurant on Mother's Day because everyone else is going to be there. I'd rather be outside somewhere if it's not windy.
Yeah, seriously.
or tornadoes out there. And just hanging out. We're talking about going camping this weekend, and that sounds good to me. No cell service, so it'll be great. But we'll see.
We went into the forest last weekend just to have dinner in the forest, and it was like I came back and was like, I feel amazing. This is awesome. That's what I would want to. That's something that would be really fun to me. Like, I also have the dream to have Thanksgiving out in the forest, and Brandon's like, are you nuts? I would love for us to have Thanksgiving in the forest. I think would be such an awesome experience.
I really like that idea.
Right?
That's Thanksgiving
okay,
next year.
Yes. Yep. Bundle up, get the fire rolling, figure out a way to make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, so, I like that
anyway.
idea. I would do anything in the forest though. Like,
I know, same.
There are days that I just think that that's where I should live.
I know. I think about that often. a lot. I daydream about it.
I know. Whenever those like Instagrams or TikToks come up where it's like, choose your ideal house, mine is always the one that's in like the cabin in the woods with like the gray weather and the snow and like the big white fluffy pillows on the bed and yeah.
Yep.
That's a whole mood.
It is a mood.
Love it.
It's a mood that if I sit here and I close my eyes, I envision. It just brings me peace. Like, yes. Now, have I actually ever really truly experienced that? Maybe like once or twice, but
thanks for listening to our brain dump.
I know, seriously.
Hope you can appreciate it.
This one got a little off track. It was a little squirrely.
I was gonna say we'll be better when Michelle comes back to keep us in line.
Yeah. She's like, okay, let's move on.
But I still really think it all tied together. Like
it did. This is our release from our burnout. I mean, like Leah said, like I genuinely was bummed I missed last week's recording because it is like therapy to me. I always laugh and joke that this is like therapy, but it makes me feel so good to be talking to you guys and to have an outlet and to be able to talk about the true hard things, you know. It's great. And I appreciate you all. And happy Mother's Day to both of you. I'm sure we'll talk on Mother's Day, but yeah.
And if anybody listening would love to share with us their best or worst gifts they've received on Mother's Day, that feedback would be pretty fun to get.
I would love that. Yeah, let's put that up on our socials, and I'll put that up as a poll on Spotify, which I didn't know that Spotify does questions and polls now, so go check that out. We have that up for one of our episodes. I'm going to put somewhere on our other episodes, but yeah. All right.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.